The Story of Josanna. By Eric Hua. Chapter 12. Watanwa. After leaving the forest not long ago, Josanna stood on a hill and saw the glorious city of Watanwa. From where she was, the place looked more like a fortress than a city. There was no visible way of entering the city except through the main gate. The only major problem was that the gate was teeming with Watanwa guards.
How in the world am I going to get through all of them?
Josanna thought to herself. She was also thinking what a fool she was initially, assuming she could take on the entire army of Watanwa herself. She tried to think of an alternate entrance, but the raccoon got her attention and signaled for Josanna to follow. The raccoon led her away from the main entrance and towards one of the side walls. Almost no one paid attention to this side of the building, and so, they had an easy time getting to their destination without much effort. Once they reached the side wall of the city, Josanna looked around to see where the entrance might be. She saw nothing on the walls, but when she looked down to where the raccoon was standing, she was repulsed by the idea.
What? No! I'm sorry, but there's no way I'm going down into the sewers. There has to be another way.
The raccoon didn't budge, but Josanna kept pleading for another alternative. However, as she was begging on her knees, she heard voices.
Hey, who goes there?
There were guards just around the corner of the wall, and if they caught her now, there would be no way she could sneak into the city. With extreme resistance, she pulled open the cover and allowed the raccoon to take the lead. Once the little critter hopped in, she took a deep breath before jumping in herself and covering the opening to the sewers. The two guards turned the corner, and after seeing no one suspicious, they turned away and headed back towards their patrolling route. In total, Josanna was traversing through the sewers for 15 minutes, but to her it felt like an eternity. She kept following the raccoon, trying to hold her breath for as long as possible before letting it out and inhaling again. When the raccoon was certain they were just below where they needed to be, it signaled Josanna to climb up, which she happily did with great speed. When she got to the top, she slowly lifted the cover to scan for any guards that might be near. After seeing no one near her vicinity, she carefully popped out of the sewers, closed the opening and took a breath.
Oh, sweet fresh air!
After she remembered what clean air felt like, she took a quick look around to find that she was inside a royal palace of sorts. Everything here seemed so majestic and ahead of its time that it had Josanna mesmerized for a moment. Thankfully, her raccoon buddy snapped her back into focus and she followed it into a room not too far away. The room was empty, and upon entering, she closed the doors behind her quietly. Looking around the room, she could tell it belonged to someone of importance. There were many different antiques and items around, but there was one in particular that caught Josanna's attention, a sword hanging on the wall.
This must be the sword that stupid Jezebel was talking about.
She reached for the sword and detached it from the wall. Once the weapon was in her hands, a strange feeling surged through her body. She couldn't put the feeling into words, but somehow she felt she had seen this sword sometime in her life before. However, as she had her focus on the sword, a bola was thrown and wrapped around Josanna, knocking her to the ground.
Really? Again? This is getting old,
she said in an annoyed tone. She struggled to break free, but as she was still tied up, someone walked into the room holding 2 sickles on each hand.
Well, look what the cat dragged in.
Excuse me, it was a raccoon actually.
Oh, you have quite the attitude. And quite the stench as well.
If you maintained your city sewers better, then this wouldn't have been a problem.
Enough games. Tell me, intruder, why are you here?
I don't have to tell you nothing. Besides, I don't even know who you are. And I know better than to be giving strangers information.
You insolent fool. I am Judas, an elite warrior of King Waswa. You should be bowing in respect to me.
Sounds like someone has an overinflated ego.
Enough. I will dispose of you myself right here. No one will know what happened to a no-name girl like you.
He swung both his sickles around, warming up into his finishing strike. However, because he took so long showing off, someone else entered the room. He was dark-skinned and had extremely good posture, wearing a necklace filled with the teeth of animals along with a fur cape. Unlike Judas, his mere presence demanded respect. Judas immediately bowed when he saw the man's presence.
My king, I'm sorry if I have disturbed you.
It's all right. But I did hear a bit of a commotion from here. What is going on? Who is that lady over there?
Pay no attention to her, my liege. I, your honorable servant, will take care of this matter for you. There is no need for you to waste your time on such petty matters.
After hearing what Judas said, she realized that the man standing in the same room as her was none other than King Waswa himself. He looked at her for a moment and then at the sword that was lying on the ground. He made his way closer towards Josanna, ignoring Judas.
The sword. Is that what you want?
Josanna was speechless, not knowing how to respond. She just nodded. King Waswa took a look at the handle of the sword and then at Josanna's hand.
Tell me, what is your name?
My name is Josanna.
When he heard her name, he felt lightheaded all of a sudden and fell back. Judas immediately rushed to his king.
Your Majesty, are you all right? What foul sorcery did this woman cast upon you?
But the king stopped him from taking further actions. Instead, he stood up on his own to speak.
Young Josanna, you have invaded the city of Watanwa and entered its ground without permission. You also tried to steal my most sacred relic, which I hold dear. Your actions are punishable by death.
Upon hearing what the king said, Josanna had her head down in defeat while Judas was smiling in her despair.
However, your ability to bypass the security of this city has piqued my curiosity. I will give you one chance to defend yourself. Tomorrow at dawn, you will fight against one of the champions of Watanwa. If you win, I will let you go. But lose, well, I think you already know.
The king then called for 2 of his guards to free Josanna from her bind. He told the guards to keep Josanna protected until dawn but also to not hesitate to stop her if she tried to escape. After the soldiers affirmed their orders, King Waswa walked away. As the guards escorted Josanna out, Judas had some final words to say.
Don't think your luck will hold up. I will see you on the battlefield tomorrow.
He licked his sickle and then disappeared as well.